My name is Jahlove Serrano, also known as Jahlove the brand. I currently reside in Staten Island, but don't get it twisted. I'm a Bronx Knight all day, every day, PX all day. And my gender pronouns is he, him, and I am loving where I'm at in life right now. Being born in New York City, specifically the Bronx, was very challenging for me since birth. Me and my twin sister was born in the back of a cop car in 1986. My mother was not getting arrested, but that's what happened. The cops came versus the paramedics, and it made headlines and evening news. And so I like to think since I was born famous, I'm meant to be famous. And I grew up in a heterosexual Catholic Latino household. 2 older brothers, 3 sisters. I'm a twin with a girl. And the Bronx is very different from all boroughs. I know all boroughs say that, but there's something different about the Bronx. I think if we haven't stopped our area codes, the Bronx will go all the way up into upstate. I think it will be the biggest borough. Loved my neighborhood, but didn't love all parts of the Bronx. But I couldn't wait to get out of the Bronx. As an adult, now when I go back to the Bronx, I'm like, get me out of here. Getting to this healthy mindset that I have, being a person living honorably with AIDS, being a person accepting my HIV diagnosis, was realizing that HIV is a journey. Like, it is not one day you're great, one day you're bad. There's gonna be your highs and your lows. And what gets me through it is first having a support system, learning that I don't have to go through life, especially living with HIV alone. I have a huge network of people living with HIV and people not living with HIV that keep me grounded and that I can offload and they can offload to me. So I would say, having a great support system definitely helps me mentally keep myself sane, because it is very taxing to think about how the world looks and views people living with HIV. Not a lot of people is accepting of us. Most people don't like us. And that's okay, but I love me because the people around me love me. Having a great care team. I mean, like, me and my doctors are best friends. Like, we talk about everything underneath the sun. When I feel something off, I can reach them. I can reach my care team, because I think having a great care team that also values your health is great. I love shopping, I love dancing, I love movement. I have infused my love of HIV and AIDS advocacy with my entertainment platform. And so performing on stage, giving back to my community, all things as part of my regimen. So not only taking my medication, but actively making sure that I'm mentally healthy and that I'm happy and that I'm physically healthy, going to the gym. Let me tell you, I have a gym in my building. I go there about 6 days a week. And just knowing that I am taking care of all my needs is what keeps me going. Finding out about my HIV status, we have to go from like how it all came about. So being raised in a heterosexual Catholic Latino household, my mother's sex ed was never bring a girl home pregnant. In the back of my mind, I'm like, check, because I'm not even attracted to girls. So I'm like, okay, that was my mother's sex ed. And so going into high school, the sex ed curriculum was so heterosexual based. So I knew about STIs, STDs, including HIV and pregnancy, but I thought these are the things that only happen when you had sex with a girl. So I didn't put the two together when it came to having sex with the same sex. My sophomore year of high school, I decided to cut school to lose my virginity. When I entered into high school, my goal was to be popular. And so I lied about having sex, and so I became popular for the guy having sex. So I knew I had to actually have sex because I need to uphold my popularity. So freshman year passed by, everybody knew my name. And so sophomore year, I was like, I need to actually have sex because that is what's keeping my name in these hallway streets. I met this guy in the village and we exchanged numbers, and I knew I was going to lose my virginity to him because I was like, that's the guy. I chose him. I cut school. I was living with my aunt at that time because I got kicked out for being gay and other reasons. My mother said being disrespectful. I said being gay. And I cut school, went to the guy's house, and I knew that I just felt the day was off. I was just like, I'm so inexperienced. And we did the do. And I was like excited because I was like, okay, I finally lost my virginity. I knew what it is to have sex. I couldn't wait to tell my friends because it happened on a Friday. So Monday came, and as I'm ready to tell my story to my friends during our lunch period, because that's when we read our social hour, one of my friends was talking about how they was afraid for one of their friends being potentially HIV positive because they just had unprotected sex with a guy. The guy that they explained was the same guy I just had unprotected sex with, to the T. And I was like, no, can't be. But then when I heard the name, I was just like, something like my heart sank into my stomach because I was just like, I just had unprotected sex with the same guy. And my friend is afraid of their friend potentially being HIV positive because they know for a fact that that guy is HIV positive. And so I'm just like, what am I gonna do? So now my friends was like, oh, John, you said you had met up with, no. They was just like, you sure you don't have us? I was like, I have nothing to say, let's continue this game. And that day I left just worried about my sexual health. That week I got really sick. Not knowing the information I know now, I was seroconverting. And I knew I couldn't get tested because I was 15, I lost my virginity 15 going to 16. And not that I couldn't get tested, I just didn't know my rights then. So I waited till I was about 18 to get tested. And the reason being because I was just like, if I am HIV positive, at least the doctors can't tell my parents because patient-doctor confidentiality. The day I went to go get tested, the time then was to get your results was about 2 weeks. So I went to get tested and I waited the 2 weeks time. I was working in McDonald's for $5.15 an hour, living with my aunt. I dropped out of high school because I couldn't live in my aunt's house for free. And so within that 2 weeks, I was just so worried. If you ever got tested, if anybody ever got tested, waiting for the results is the worst feeling. I don't care if it's waiting for 20 minutes or waiting a week. It is the worst feeling possible, especially if you think you may have, made a mistake along the way. The 2 weeks came up for me to get my results. And I was so nervous. I didn't want to go get my results, but I was talking to myself. I was like, Ja, if you don't know, you don't have to worry about it. And I was like, if you do know, then it's great that you know. And then I was like, but who's going to love me? Am I going to be able to have a family? All these thoughts are running through my head. And I was like, you know what, Ja, get up, go. You got to get your results. So when I got to the clinic, I felt like everything started happening in slow motion. The nurse called me back in slow motion. The door closed in slow motion. I'm looking around. I feel like I'm starting to hear violins. I'm like, what is happening? Then the doctor finally came in and gave me my results. And she said, Mr. Serrano, you're HIV positive. After receiving my HIV diagnosis, I was just like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with my HIV diagnosis. That also put me in a mind state of like, since I'm gonna die yesterday, let me do everything I want to do today. So I got myself back into high school, graduated high school, got myself into college. I started background dancing and modeling professionally. I started doing so much things and my life started looking great, but I was ignoring the fact that I was living with HIV. It took me working at Montefiore Medical Hospital as a peer educator, and at the end of my work period, I got comfortable with the staff and even my manager. And so I disclosed to my manager that I'm HIV positive, and she took me downstairs. They retested me. Of course, my status came back positive. And that's when I was engaged. Well, that's when I had a care team. I wasn't fully engaged because it still hasn't hit me mentally. It didn't hit me mentally until about 2008. 2008, I was in care, but I wasn't on medication, and I really wasn't engaged in my care. My health deteriorated down to an AIDS diagnosis, and I also was diagnosed with KS, opportunist infection, Kaposi sarcoma. And I landed myself in a hospital. I landed myself in a hospital for about a week. Lost a whole bunch of weight. The doctors didn't think that I was going to live past that week. And it was a very scary time. And I was just like, I didn't know how to deal with a dual diagnosis like AIDS and cancer. I was just like, one of these things have to go, or at least I can't deal with both. And so I said a prayer in that hospital bed, and I was like, Lord, you see me through this. I'm gonna do your will. They sent me home with a bag of medication, said Godspeed. And at that time, they were like, if you stayed on the medication, the cancer will go into remission and your health can bounce back. I didn't believe that. I didn't think they believed that, but I stand here today fully recovered. I mean, I have my CD4 count that is high, my viral load is undetectable. And since I made a deal with the man up above, I had to hold my end of the deal. And so I became an HIV tester, counselor, and HIV advocate and activist, outreach worker. I put myself out there to let people know, like, this is a livable disease. Like, you can always take control of your life, no matter what news you hear, right? There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And it took for me, basically on my deathbed, for me to turn everything around and want to live, and I'm living.